What's up, everybody? It's your boy. Did you know that there is an officially canonized Catholic saint of autism? His name was Thorlak Thorhalsson, and he is the patron saint of autism because he seems to have probably had autism, which is cool. He was a child prodigy who taught himself to read at a young age. He became hyperfixated / took a special interest in the Bible. He had a notorious fondness for rigid rules, for this reason notably rejecting marriage and remaining celibate his entire life, and he allegedly only ate a couple foods and had a strict daily regimen and schedule down to the minute, which all of that sounds pretty familiar to me, aka Reed from Shameless Nerd. Today's video is about my pride and joy, this sweet little iPod mini. If you end up liking this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. You can also join these beautiful people on the screen right here by clicking the join button to become a member of the channel, whereupon you will get exclusive access to some members only videos, as well as access to every video a few days early. You can also join the Shameless Nerd Discord at the link in the description and email me with any questions, comments, concerns, or recommendations for fancy ballpoint pens in the $20 to $50 range at readfromshamelessnerd@gmail.com. Also, I'm going to announce the winner of the Sunbeam phone giveaway thing that I did at the end of this video, so stick around for that if you are interested. All right, let's get into it. Music streaming sucks ass. It's horrible. I'll start on the user side because that's where most of us are. Music streaming used to be this beautiful, limitless world in which we were met with nearly free access to every artist who ever lived, and we could explore new interests without boundary, curating our own playlists with wider range than the financially limiting iTunes libraries we were all maintaining at the time, or, for some of us, the pop-up-ridden Trojan horse virus shitboxes resulting from our unfettered use of LimeWire or something similar. Well, if we fast forward to today, that vision, much like the dreamy vision of early video streaming on Netflix, is dead and has been beaten relentlessly after its death for several years now. Spotify is $12 a month, Apple Music is $11, or you can try Tidal, which is allegedly more ethical but is certainly owned by Block Incorporated, which isn't exactly the great moral arbiter of our time, or perhaps you can use SoundCloud, which of course is disgusting and weird. There are others, but of course Spotify's the big one. Let's talk a little bit about the state of Spotify. I'm joking about SoundCloud, by the way. SoundCloud's fine. You can use SoundCloud. If you use SoundCloud, it's fine. Who cares? I don't care. Scrolling down the Spotify homepage now feels like scrolling TikTok. Users are bombarded with auto-playing video podcast clips, an automated DJ feature that plays algorithmically curated songs to you like a personal radio station and interrupts to insert weirdly timed attempts at humor. Curated playlists made by Spotify, which have been found to feature an increasing amount of AI-generated songs and albums, and an onslaught of headings and subheadings. Jump back in, New Music Friday, Release Radar, Made for You, More Like Blank, Top Picks, etc. The app is buggy and bloated. It often crashes or stops playing mid-track or podcast without warning and forces a restart. You're fed recommended albums with a tiny little sponsored tag in the corner. There are play stats and podcast rankings and messaging and sponsored audiobooks. It is exhausting. It is one of the wildest falls from grace that I've gotten to witness as an adult. Spotify was so cool in 2012 when I downloaded it a few months after its US launch in 2011. In 13 short years, it has gone from this to this. And this is the case across streaming platforms. The user experience is so stressful and miserable, and they have become another predatory, ad-forward, hostile user interface for a social media app Trojan horse. We use them because it's habitual, or our playlists live there and we don't want to lose them, or that's what our friends use, but if we're being honest with ourselves, these apps are not what most of us want from our music listening experience. Maybe I'm insane, but music means a lot to me, and I listen to music to get the hell away from this late-era capitalist dystopian Times Square-ass world that we are living in right now. I just want a list of songs and albums that I like, maybe some playlists I've created for various moods I may be in, and an interface that organizes all of this for me on a small, portable device I can plug headphones into. Spotify, Apple Music, etc., these streamers just aren't that anymore. I just wish there was something like that, something made for that, which existed. That would be the future. Oh, hold on. I'm getting a call here. What? 2001? Toy. Just look at the camera. Toy. That's so stupid. Okay. Take a... Now I have the giggles. Okay, take a quick journey with me for a second. If you are a music lover between the ages of 24 or so and 50, and if you're watching this video, you almost definitely are, and I bet you like cardigan sweaters and Pokemon, you sicko, you will probably fondly remember this experience. The year is 2008. You just got home, you sit down on your parents' computer because your friend told you about the new Vampire Weekend album, or insert whatever album or artist from that era that completes this fantasy for you, and you Google the name of the album, you look for a link to BearShare or ZippyShare or Mediafire or 7-Zip, or if you're a sick weirdo weirdo like me, you're on uTorrent or destroying your parents' computer with FrostWire. At some point, I'm going to do a video about how, unironically, Soulja Boy is one of the most important artists of the 21st century. Anyway, you find a link to this album or a torrent, or you see it in VirusWire, and you download it, you unpack the zip, you see all the MP3s uncapitalized and out of order, you drag it onto iTunes, and you see that there's no album or artist information, no artwork, nothing, and you spend the next 2 hours organizing your music library, doing this for multiple albums and songs, finding and downloading the album cover, ordering the tracks, making sure that the spelling and capitalization matches up with the other albums by the artist so that they're grouped together on your iPod. And when you finally sync your iPod, you've never been so excited to put one earbud in your ear and the other in your crush's ear on the bus to show them your haul from the evening before. Having a locally stored file-based library of music, and importantly, going through this process, it creates a feeling of ownership. It creates a tie to the music. It legitimizes your taste and establishes a legitimacy and important to the music that you have access to. And guys, it was fun. It was a fun process, feeding a biological and evolutionary drive to collect and catalog and ration, but doing so in a deeply important, modern, and intellectualized sort of way. I look back so fondly on this time, not because I can't listen to the music anymore. I have quicker and easier access to it than I ever have, technically, but because there is something deeply fulfilling, rewarding, and fun to curating and maintaining a library. And we do not do this anymore en masse. I collect all kinds of shit because I'm a weirdo, but personally curating for oneself as an art form or as a hobby of its own, that's gone. The curation algorithms do that for us now. I've made several videos on this if you'd like to learn more in detail about what these curation algorithms I think are taking from us and how we can fight back, my most directly related one being this one on the screen right here. But for most people, the fun of maintaining a library of anything really is dead and gone, and curating and learning about one's own taste is a passive, accidental thing that we all participate in. And I think there's something important in that, something that we're missing now. So to put it simply, I think it's a really good idea to get into MP3 players again. And I'm not the first to make this case on YouTube. I hopefully won't be the last either, but I'd like to argue for one MP3 player in particular for a few reasons, and that is 2004's iPod Mini, which I have right here. I think that this is the perfect iPod to kind of break into this space, this hobby, because it's very cheap, relatively speaking, it's simple, and the mods necessary to make this thing really awesome for this endeavor are super easy. Excitingly, I have some tech advice, and you can trust this tech advice because even though we're going to talk in the second half of this video about how to mod an iPod, which sounds very scary, I am not an electrician or a tech nerd in that way. I promise you. I don't know how to solder. My level of comfortability tinkering with electronics is actually super, super limited. The most impressive thing I've ever done being replacing the bezel on the screen of my second-gen iPod Touch in the early 2010s. And this is ultimately a super easy and manageable mod to do. I'm also going to talk about some options for acquiring the music to put on the iPod in the first place without breaking the bank. So here we go. I have several iPods here. This is an iPod Touch. This is the 7th gen iPod Nano, I believe. Or no, this purple one is. This is maybe a 4th gen iPod Nano. And I like these a lot. It used to be a hobby that I was more into. I don't use any of these anymore because I use this one exclusively. The iPod Mini is one of the cheapest iPods to buy online right now as far as iPods go. Lots of people are getting into retro iPods as of late, and some of the iPods are expensive, some even more expensive than they were when they came out. The iPod Mini, for whatever reason, is not. You can buy a second-gen iPod Mini, which is the one that you want, by the way, because the optionality for flash storage is much better, for $68 right now on eBay at what is the time of this video, the top buy it now, eBay factory-ass kind of seller, you know what I'm talking about? But you can often find them for much less. I've seen a bunch of the local flea market in my town for around 30 or 40 bucks. Or oftentimes you can find them at yard sales or stuff because they don't work, but it's always just the battery, which we're going to replace, and the storage space doesn't matter either because we're going to swap that as well and add flash storage. So you can worrylessly find and buy the cheapest option available, whatever, wherever that is. You can buy a broken second gen iPod Mini and almost guarantee, you can't guarantee, but you can almost guarantee that it's just replacing the battery. What we're gonna do is also a super common modification, so you can also buy on eBay for between 120 and 150 bucks or so, ones that have already done what we're gonna do and have that done for you if you really don't wanna fiddle with it and you've got it like that, you can do that also. But if you are gonna do it, what you will need, in addition to the iPod and charging cable, make sure you get one of those 40-pin iPod charging cables with it, is a replacement battery. You can buy these for literally $10 on eBay, and an iFlash SD to CF adapter, and an SD card, but you probably have one lying around, or you can buy one literally anywhere for like super cheap. Doing both these mods is extremely easy. I am a massive idiot, and I did both successfully on my first try. You don't have to have any special tools other than one of those little tiny screwdrivers, nor does it require any expertise, and you don't have to do any soldering, and importantly, in my experience, you don't even have to be that careful, really. It is a very easy job. This is the tutorial that I followed. I'm just gonna link to this video by Garrett Crespo instead of trying to do it myself in a video, because he inevitably does a way better job of explaining it than I could ever do anyway, and he knows all the right terms and vocabulary and shit. I'm linking to it in the description, as well as the link to the SD to CF adapter that you'll need by iFlash, but I'm not gonna pretend to be a tech channel and lead y'all astray. We'll leave that to the experts. As for the music acquisition process, I am maybe the preeminent music downloading expert in the world, and I will gladly help y'all out there. There are tons of places to get music for free or for cheap, and I'm gonna go through basically all the places I get music and how to do that. First of all, up front, so I am a musician, and as a super small-time independent musician, I sympathize with and understand the sentiment behind arguments against piracy or file sharing. An independent artist would need roughly 20 million annual streams on Spotify to make the average American median income, for example. And many of these artists are not making nearly the money that you think they might be. Also, again, as a musician, I think that when possible, your goal should be to monetarily support the artists that you love, and especially for independent musicians, the best way to do that is Bandcamp. I'm not sponsored by Bandcamp. Bandcamp is not perfect, but it is almost definitely the fairest and most ethical platform for independent artists, and at minimum, I think Bandcamp is the place to start with smaller artists. A lot of the time, digital downloads of albums are for sale for like $7 or less, and I know we're all used to streaming and having infinite access to infinite music for a monthly subscription, but if you think about how much you're actually listening to whatever album you have in that playlist you made on Spotify, you're paying $144 a year for Spotify. You buy an album on Bandcamp for $6 and it's yours forever. Part of this whole thing is reframing what we're looking for in our music listening experience also. Like, I think infinite choice is a little overrated, honestly. We all love the idea of options, but how often do we open Netflix and get stressed out by what to watch and watch The Office again? Or, well, Netflix has taken down The Office, streaming sucks ass, but you get my point. Bandcamp for independent artists, when possible, good place to start. If you can afford it, it's a really good way to support independent artists, and it means a lot to them. I'll link to my Bandcamp, on which my first real album will be released by the end of this year, in the description if you're interested. And you can also listen to my music on my second channel on YouTube as well, which is linked. Okay, but for bigger artists, I'm not going to make the entirety of the case here. I'm just going to make a bold, potentially controversial claim that I don't really care about piracy, generally speaking, morally speaking. I'll link to a video on the subject in the description that makes like the case that I tend to agree with in full, but I'm going to perhaps maybe controversially say here that I don't really believe in piracy being unethical, and I don't think you should feel bad about it, really. But if you are really concerned with the morality of it, I'll start with an option for music that is much cheaper than iTunes or an equivalent, and that is Iomoyo, I think. I don't know how it's pronounced, that's what it looks like. I've linked to a website in the description. Iomoyo is what I'm gonna call it. Iomoyo, maybe I won't call it that. Iomoyo is a perfectly legal music marketplace that has been around for almost 20 years, but no one knows about really, which operates under European licensing and thus is able to offer music at a much cheaper price. There is all kinds of music on here from even pretty small-time artists I've been surprised to be able to find at pristine quality, with songs available for between 10 and 16 cents and albums for less than $3, sometimes as low as $1 or $2. This is a good middle ground, legally and morally clean for those of you that do feel that way, but still much more affordable, or a good place to go if you're willing to pirate but can't find something, which happens sometimes. Another great, morally clear, cheap but not free option is ripping CDs like the good old days. There are trillions of CDs in every Goodwill in the country for 99 cents, and that's also a great way to find new old music as well, which is one of my favorite things to do. But for those of you who are down with some proverbial sailing the open seas, here are some great options I've found for finding music online for free. It's definitely harder than it used to be, though. Getting back into this, I quickly had the realization that this is harder than it used to be. Like, the internet has gotten better at like keeping us from doing this shit, I think, for like a casual like me. In my prime, I could download almost anything via Mediafire or ZippyShare or whatever the hell, and it would have come up via a simple Google of albumname.zip. Those days are kind of behind us, sadly, but there are still some options. Option number one is to do just that, or for better results, sometimes without like DCMA removals from the search results, you can use DuckDuckGo, but just like Google the name of the album and then put .zip at the end, or add like free download download to the search query. The best case scenario for this to work out is that you will see a search result from archive.org. Archive.org is the best, and if it's a really big name artist, or especially a legacy artist from a little ways back, you'll often find a result from there, and then on the right side of the page, you'll see options for download. This is option number 1. Option number 2 is to do the zip search and hope for something from one of those file sharing sites from the olden days. They still exist. Mediafire and the like, or sometimes you'll find a link in a forum somewhere to a file from like mega.nz or Google Drive, and I've sometimes had massive scores that way. You have to do some digging, but that's part of the fun in trying to do this. Ultimately, between those two free methods and a little bit of IOMoyo, I've maybe spent $60 or so over the past 10 months, not counting like the independent artists that I've chosen to like support directly and spent like maybe a little bit more. And there is almost nothing that I've ever been looking for and been unable to find. I'm shooting probably like 95%. But for that other 5%, there is one final method. Apart from torrenting, which I haven't really talked about in this video, you can torrent a lot of this stuff too if you're into that. I don't really do that anymore because I'm scared of like ruining my computer, but you can torrent stuff also. The most tried and true method, the absolute backbone of the internet for every MySpace era elder emo, every hyperpop producing trans 20-something, every one of us who ever watched a misheard lyrics video on golden era YouTube, and that is old, reliable, our god, our hero, YouTube to MP3 downloaders. There are a million of them. If you can't find something on the internet in the ways that I've outlined, and you can't pay for it, and you like that process of naming and filing that I talked about earlier, the possibilities are limitless. You Google YouTube to MP3, you put the link from the YouTube video of that song in there, you close an inevitable pop-up for sports gambling, and you have your MP3. It takes a little longer to do it this way, and there's some very minor like quality loss from YouTube compression and the converter's conversion, but ultimately, it works just fine, and it is the foundation upon which the entire internet is built, in my opinion. As for podcasts, you don't need Spotify Premium to listen to them, and the Apple Podcasts app is free as well. Podcasts are ad-supported, and continuing to pay for streaming to listen to podcasts is unnecessary, thankfully. If you have a recommendation for something better for podcasts than Spotify, which is begrudgingly what I still use, please let me know in the comments because I would love to move that elsewhere. In conclusion, iPods are fun. It's rewarding and fun to go through that process of curating and maintaining a music library. And I think there is a lot more value to that process than I even went into in this video. You can check out some of my other videos for more detail on that. If you're going to cut out music streaming platforms from your life, which I recommend doing, I think that the iPod mini is the way to go because the modding process for it is fun and easy to do, and it is relatively cheap. You can also always just buy some flash storage MP3 player that will absolutely get the job done for even less. Or if you're interested in becoming like a DankPods audiophile nerd, you can get something like the FIO M21, which looks sick as hell. I would love to get at some point. The options are limitless and the internet is still alive. We just have to work a little harder to keep it that way than we used to. Also, headphone jack. Thanks for watching. See y'all next time. In today's post-video video, I am going to do two things. First, I'm going to announce the winner of the Sunbeam phone giveaway, and then I have another fun little thing that I'd like to do. So first of all, real quick, I want to make the announcement of the winner of the giveaway for my dumb phone video, and that person is, out of over 3,000 entries, which, by the way, what the hell? Thank y'all so much. That's so incredibly cool that over 3,000 people entered my stupid little giveaway, that there are so many people waking up to the nonsense of corporatified internet and the cancer of our smartphones. I find it so pretty and inspiring. Anyway, the winner is Audrey. I wish it were possible for me to give more than one of these away. Maybe I can convince Sunbeam to give me some more phones. I would love to do another one of these soon. If now that you know that you were not, sadly, the winner of the giveaway, if you're interested in buying one of the Sunbeam phones, you can do so at the affiliate link in the description, and it goes a long way in supporting the channel and maybe helping me to convince Sunbeam to give more of these away. Thank you guys so much, and congratulations to Audrey. I'm really glad that I was able to do that. I think it's cool. Secondly, today I'd like to give you a little behind the scenes tour of the setup for my videos. I get a lot of comments asking specifics about how I make these videos, so I figured that I would just do this. So this is my microphone. It's an AKG P100 I bought for music stuff about 10 years ago now, which, Jesus Christ, I'm old. And it runs into an M-Audio Big Knob USB interface, which I've had for that amount of time as well. And I use Logic Pro as a DAW for my audio stuff. The audio for these videos, I put a very light mix on, which uses a compressor set to a pretty moderate amount of compression, a little EQ to pull out some of the muddy lows and the piercy highs out of my voice, a de-esser because this mic is pretty rough on sibilance, and then I put a limiter on the master to make the whole of the audio a little bit louder. I push it to about 4 decibels or so usually. This is my absolute prized possession, my 2021 M1 iMac that I bought with money from teaching summer school during COVID, which was an absolute nightmare. And my camera that you guys bought me sits right here on the shelf that I built for the computer while I film on this little tripod guy. My laptop sits just below the lens of the camera on top of this blank CD rack thing. And on it, I pull up the script to my videos, which I always try really hard to make it look like I'm not reading the whole time. And then I take the audio from Logic and bounce it. I airdrop it to my laptop on which I edit the videos because I like to sit here in bed while I edit, and I plug my camera's memory card into this little card reader. I sync up the audio and the video, turn the volume off on the video part so it's only the clean microphone audio. I export that as a rough edit, and then I go through and do all the more minor editing stuff. I pull most of the stock footage that I use from Pexels, which is a free website for stock footage and photos, and then I use Upbeat, which is a sponsor of the channel, in which you can download at my affiliate link in the description, for background music, some sound effects, and occasional graphics. Occasionally download pictures from Google Images or whatever, or I use video that I've recorded myself. All in all, it takes me about 5 to 8 hours to write like the scripts for these videos, which usually run about 4,000 words, and it takes maybe an hour or two to record, give or take, depending on how many times I flub my words or I get the giggles like I did in this video. And then it takes probably 6 to 10 hours to edit the videos, maybe an hour to make the thumbnails. And I do that in spurts before bed or sometimes at school on a day that my students are taking a test or something and I have some quiet time. I'm usually about 2 videos ahead, but sometimes I found myself editing on a Sunday night to get Monday's video out on Monday morning. Pretty rarely though, and that happened far more frequently early on than it does now. I've got a pretty good system down now, and I'm proud to say that I have uploaded every Monday since December 31st of last year, and I've actually uploaded a few additional videos here and there as well. Shooting 100% so far, and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. Hopefully that was interesting for those of you who were interested, and for those of you who weren't, there's no way you sat through that anyway, so for the rest of us, love you, bye!